It's time to, open up come to order for our meeting. We will have invocation by Mr. Harold K. and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
May we pray. Eternal, kind Heavenly Father, just once again, we, just a few of your children, come with our heads bowed and the locks of our shoulders. Father, we come just to ask that you continue to wrap your loving arms of protection around us. Watch over and keep our families safe. Watch over all of the children of Anderson School District 5. We ask you to bless them, that they continue to have a safe summer, and that you return them back to the classroom, Father, and ready to learn and eager to see what the next year holds for them, Father. We ask you to grab us by the hand of our mind, that we would be led into the decisions the way that you would have us to make them for the betterment of all the children of Anderson 5. Father, we ask you to watch over, protect, and bless those families that went through the flood in Texas. We want to remember them, Father. We know that the song says, some through the fire, some through the flood, some through great sorrow, but all through the blood. And we thank you for your blood right now, Jesus. We thank you for the blood that cleanses us and keeps us. And we ask you to, if we have done all that's assigned to our hands, to remember and give us a home in your, as you pledged that we would have a home in your kingdom. To study war no more, Father. If you do not grant us these petitions, we'll be more than careful to give your name, which is high and holy, the praise, the honor, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. The pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of our minutes. Everyone, I think, has had the opportunity to go over the agenda. You've had time to go over the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve this agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. We have a section, under Section 8, Executive Session. There's bullet A, and then under that, there's lowercase bullet a and lowercase b. Returning employee bonus package is B. We do not have that under Section 9. And in case we come out of executive session and act on that, I think we need to move, or we need to add a B, lowercase b, to Section 9 under A. So it'd be uppercase A, lowercase a, then lowercase b. We'd have returning employee bonus package.
It's right there.
I'm sorry, it's not on the printed one.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Dukes, it was sent to the media corrected.
Okay.
The packet was sent to you all was incorrect, but it has been corrected now.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a bit of discussion. What would be the reason for putting that item under executive session?
Which item?
Returning employee bonus package?
Compensation. Where it says
Okay.
discussion of compensation.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, would you please raise your hand? Any opposed? I didn't see them. So it's approved. The motion passes. A superintendent's report, she has A, play safe presentation, B, YMCA after-school program, and C, monthly financial reports.
I want to skip 6 action items.
Let's see. This paper does not match. Yeah, we got it.
Number 5. Well, I was reading what I thought I had typed. Action items. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't do it.
citizens to
Action
address the
items.
board. The opportunity for the citizens to address the board.
Yeah, this thing is all messed up then, because I don't have that on mine. Are you okay right here? Opportunity for the citizens to address the board, and I think I have one, Cynthia Wenzer.
Deja vu. I feel like we've been here before. As I begin my third year as the district's only full-time elementary STEM teacher, I've witnessed firsthand the transformative impact my program has on my students. What started as a Title I position I accepted knowing it was year to year has become something I'm passionate about making permanent and expanding district-wide. On the personal side, however, it is very challenging to pour time, energy, resources, etc. into a position that may not be around in a year. The research is overwhelming. Study after study confirms that early STEM exposure doesn't just teach science and technology. It develops critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity that students carry into every subject. Our students aren't just learning to code or build a popsicle stick bridge. They're learning to think systematically and approach challenges with confidence. I recently attended the International Society for Technology and Education conference, where I was inspired by educators from around the world who are preparing their students for careers that don't even exist yet. I spoke with a district from Texas that operates a traveling STEM bus, an impressive initiative that visits schools periodically. I got really excited at first and said maybe this is what I need to approach the district about. But here's what struck me, and they even acknowledge: occasional exposure isn't enough. Our students need consistent, ongoing STEM education, not just exciting one-time experiences. If you ask most teachers in our district, they will tell you they are not able to give science the time and energy it requires in the general ed classroom. Students need to develop computational thinking, understand emerging technologies like AI, and build a foundation for tomorrow's workforce. A random visit, no matter how engaging, simply cannot provide the depth and continuity our students deserve. Every day we delay expanding STEM education is another day our students fall behind. I'm asking you to move beyond viewing STEM as a nice-to-have enrichment at one school and recognize it as the essential preparation our students need. Let's give every elementary student in our district the same opportunities I've been privileged to provide at Nevitt Forest. I'm also hopeful that when I return to my school in a few weeks, there's a policy in place regarding AI and how our students can benefit from learning how to use all types of AI in their everyday life to enhance their human potential. Education in AI should go beyond theoretical knowledge to include practical applications. I encourage you to research what the profile of an AI-ready graduate is as you continue to serve the students of our district. AI is not something in the far-off future. It is here in the present and quickly advancing. Please don't allow our students to get behind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for caring so much.
I thought the traveling bus was a good idea. You mentioned that.
Okay, thank you for that. Action items. A, June 10th, 2025 budget public hearing and board meeting minutes. B, policy revisions. Small a, policy JH, student absences and excuses, second reading. And C is community eligibility provision, CEP resolution.
Do we need to vote on these separate?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, before we get to the minutes and improving the minutes, I do have a comment, a correction, and a question for those minutes. My comment is, I want to thank Ms. Wright, Ms. Elrod, and Ms. Bufford for providing the list of names of the employees we approved last month, so thank you, and I'd like to continue to see that each month. It's very helpful. A correction that I have is on page 2, expenditure highlights. If you go down to bullet 7, we got step increases for all eligible staff. And when we went through the budget, might be splitting hairs, but what we talked about and approved from the budget worksheet, the spreadsheet, was a non-teacher step increase, singular. It cost us $618,000 and $618,065. and that's for one step. The way this reads, it almost could be construed as if there's more than one step that we approved. So I'd like for that to read one step increase for all eligible staff as opposed to step increases, which increases is plural there. That's okay. There's no objection. And then for all eligible staff is listed. We didn't really talk about eligible staff during the budget process, and I asked Ms. Hurd earlier about that, and she said she didn't mind explaining that to me and the rest of the board. So if Ms. Hurd could take an opportunity to do that. Who is eligible for this step?
Just a
No,
part of the
it's not.
minutes.
This is something he has.
Yes, sir. As, like Mr. Duke said, as part of the minutes that Ms. Wright provided to you, one of the highlights from the budget public hearing, one of the line items said eligible step increases for eligible employees. And the question was, what makes up an eligible employee? And so for teachers, the state mandates that you have to work at least 152 days to be eligible for a step increase. So if we hire a teacher in February to finish out the year for maternity leave or something, maybe we have a teacher resign and they do not work at least 152 days, they are not eligible by state regulations for a step increase. For all other employees outside of teachers, the district procedure is that you have to work at least one half of your contract. So if you are a 180-day employee, you would have to work at least 90 days to be eligible to move up to the next step. But as long as you work more than that, and we do take into account in that if you are out on leave. So just to make sure everybody understands exactly how we look at that. So we do look individual by individual to ensure that they work the number of days to be granted this step increase.
So what percentage is that for teachers?
The step increase?
154 out of 190. Anybody good at math? I can't do that in my head.
What about 75, 80%?
Was it 154?
152, so they have to work 80%.
I'm good with
Compared to 50% for everyone else?
Yes, sir.
Should we make it 80% for everybody?
Whatever's the pleasure of the board.
I think we said that the last time that we would do that. From what you read to us the last time, that's what I got the understanding of. There was different ways of how you get the step. And you were showing us, telling us how we got the step.
Yes, ma'am. That's what the step increases. You have to be eligible, and it's based on the number of contract days you work, depending on the state regulation or the board procedures.
Thank you for that explanation. My recommendation, since we've already passed the budget, and eligible is a part of that, based on Ms. Hurd's definition, I would say we keep that for this year and make that a discussion for next year if we want to change it.
Good.
I think it should be the same percentage.
So noted. Thank you.
I mean, I really, I
I
think that needs to
mean,
be
we shouldn't
consistent.
hold teachers to a higher standard than every other employee.
So my motion to approve the minutes would be as amended, Madam Chair.
And we amended to what?
That bullet 7 under expenditure highlights would read one step increase for all eligible staff, as opposed to, it says step increases, plural, and we only approved a one step increase. So just basically clarifying that we're only approving one step increase.
Second.
Mr. Thompson, what you got?
We got to vote.
There was a second, that was Mr. K?
Yes.
Okay, Mr.
Okay,
Second.
okay, I thought he was second. Okay, we have a second to approve this one step. And is there any other discussion? All in favor of approving the one step?
Oh, well, Madam Chair, the motion is to approve the minutes as a whole as amended, because the one step isn't just an amendment to the, so the motion is to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, the motion to approve the minutes as amended. I thought we was talking about the step.
That was correct.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please raise your hand.
That's everybody.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Get back to my, okay. So
But-
June 10th, 25 budget public hearing, that was your minutes?
Correct.
Okay,
Madam
policy.
Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, may I ask just one question before we move on from that? The percentage that teachers have to do, never mind, that just answered my own question. Thank you. I apologize.
The capital B, policy revision, lowercase a, policy JH, student absences and excuses, the second reading of that.
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
And we do have the second reading here where it has been revised at certain places, and I'm sure that we read that because we did get it.
Yes, ma'am. The policy that's included in your packet, there were no revisions or additions or deletions from the first reading, so it is our recommendation that we accept this policy JH, student absences and excuses, as it's presented.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve policy JH, student absences and excuses on second reading.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, so it has been second. So the policy JH, student absences and excuses, is in favor of approving this. Raise your hands.
That's 8, Mr. Zuggis stepped out.
Mr. Drug stepped out.
We're eight.
So that's 8 of it still
8.
passes. Mhm.
8 passes it. Okay.
In discussion.
I thought we was in with the discussion, that's why we was voting. Is there a discussion for that?
Oh, I would
Madam Chair, I thought we had voted.
We have.
Okay,
did we
but there
do
is
the
no
discussion?
discussion.
Do we have a I didn't know we had a
Oh,
discussion.
I just wanted to thank all the moms and dads who contacted us to give their feedback on the attendance policy, and all that contacted me who were in favor of the 10 notes. Many parents said they don't run their kids to the doctor for every illness, and I want to thank Dr. Kelly and the board for approving this policy.
Okay, thank you. The community eligibility for provision, the CEP resolution.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to ask Mr. Kavanaugh if he'll come up. This is a great benefit for our students in our schools. All of our students receive free breakfast and free lunch, and it's because of the due diligence of Mr. Kavanaugh and his staff and working diligently to provide the information needed so that every child gets the adequate meals each day, thus ensuring academic success. So, Mr. Kavanaugh, on behalf of the board, I do want to thank you and your staff for what you do. But I've asked Mr. Kavanaugh if he would come forward and give you a little bit of an update about it and the good news for the next 4 years.
Okay.
And then we will do the resolution.
Well, CEP status is based on our ISP, or Identified Student Percentage, of students that qualify through direct certification through Medicaid or Medicare. Been a lot of conversation in the news about Medicare and the changes. We don't anticipate a significant change on the culinary services level, but for Anderson District 5, for at least the next 4 years, it's a moot point, because we've been approved effective this year and for the next 3 years for CEP. So no matter what the guys in Washington, D.C. decide to do, Anderson 5 is good to go. We have in our office, Billy Ritchie follows those numbers every single day. And a lot of school districts don't. They just apply every 4 years, and then sometimes they lose schools and sometimes they don't. But we figured out the first year that if we apply every year, we get renewed for 4 more years. So we're just going to keep going. And hopefully, over time, all school districts will be feeding kids for free nationwide. It's just a matter of time. The resolution is a formality the USDA requires. Not every school district can have every school be CEP, so USDA requires school boards to simply be aware of the fact that we are following this program. So that's the formality of the resolution. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. A lot of culinary stuff has been on Facebook lately, so.
Thanks to you and Bill for being so diligent in this.
Okay.
I think it's one of the best programs that we offer in our district. You know, a student with a empty belly can't learn.
That's right.
And,
Parents have got multiple kids. I've got, my secretary says thank you every day.
yeah, yeah, and it used to be a stigma of getting free lunch, and kids would sit and not go up to get their lunch because they didn't want people to see they were getting free lunch.
I was one of those red ticket kids.
Yeah.
My brothers and I were in the back of the line, so, yeah, I
And
remember.
now every child gets free lunch, you know, and they took away that stigma. So I just think it's a fantastic program that we need to do everything we can to continue.
What is
possible.
unique and not surprising for us, but maybe surprising to the board, is that our largest increase in participation for lunch was in our wealthier schools. T.L. Hanna, Midway, Glenview, those, when we went CEP, so those are the kids that were hurting the most. Those were the families that were hurting the most. Our percentages of participation at Westside, Homeland Park, they didn't really increase that much. But Hanna went from a good day feeding 800 kids for lunch to 1,200 kids as a slow day. So that is where this program definitely has helped our local community. And we don't expect it to change. Even with regulations and budgets changing, the impact on our culinary program for Anderson 5 at least will be minimal. So,
Quinn, thanks. You guys run the biggest restaurant in town. So, but I will say, everything's been said is true. Principals also thank you, because we're not chasing down, trying to find
Lunch money, but
lunch money, and people
We're
not
not
paying
chasing
them.
down lunch
We're not
money.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll thank you if they were here.
yes, it's very nice to have a zero negative balance.
Correct.
I have a few questions, and short answer is fine, but you're welcome to expand upon it. Not trying to cut you off.
It's okay. I
How
put a
lo-
tie on in the middle of the summer just for you guys.
So, just for clarification, this CEP is what's responsible for free lunches that's been going on for, what, 2 years now?
We're in our third year.
Okay, all right. So when people ask me about, now students get free breakfast and free lunch, this specifically is what's
Yes.
giving us that? Okay.
Correct.
And you said about 3 years this has been?
Anderson 5 is qualified as a district-wide for 3 years. The CEP,
the 3 years in the past or in the future? How long has it been?
this is our third full year. So we're starting our third year.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're approved for 3 more beyond
Right,
this
for
year?
this year plus, when you get approved, when you apply and you get approved for the following school year and 3, well, I don't know why they don't just say 4 years, but they word it funny. But for the record, CEP has been around for 10-plus years. Anderson 5 had 6 schools on CEP for 5 or 6 years that qualified based on their ISP, and the other schools still had to collect free and reduced application. So the program itself is not new. It's just USDA has changed its funding, and the ISP versus reimbursement ratio has made it more financially beneficial for school districts to go CEP.
And are we required to do this resolution each year?
Yes,
Yes.
by law, it's state 425.
Okay.
Yes.
And then last year's resolution looked just like this one?
We didn't have to do a resolution last year. This is new. This is
Okay.
a new proviso that was passed. Yes.
And last question, who drafted the resolution?
Mr. Newton did.
Okay, thank you.
Which I have in hand, and I will make the motion that we approve the CEP, the community eligibility provision, as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
How's the teacher portion of this been received? Because I know we offer now to the teachers for so many days.
Mr. K, you're referring to the Lunches on Us program?
Yes.
Well, I just sent out a very nice email out to all the off-sites about that today. It has been an absolute game changer for our faculty and staff. Of course, custodians and food service, we feed those guys for free anyway. But having the board and the superintendent support that initiative has been phenomenal. In more ways than I could really count, but it's a benefit for the teachers, obviously, because it saves them money. It's a great incentive for teachers to stay in District 5 or come to District 5 if they have a choice between Anderson 1 or Anderson 5. And first, our food is way better than the food in Anderson 1. And I know Jeff Dopkins, and he probably won't say that, but I will. And for a discipline standpoint, because of the unencumbered lunches, it really gives teachers an incentive to come to the cafeteria, which keeps the kids more in line. So it's a winning proposition no matter how you look at it. And we appreciate the school board for supporting that.
Thanks.
Next year, guys, 5 days a week, okay? Work it into the budget.
All in favor of approving the community eligibility provision CEP resolution by raising your hand? Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cook Clinton.
I'm sorry, one more question. When you said next year, 5 days, I just want to make sure I understand. I apologize, you know.
Right there, the-
Sorry, Dr. Kelly.
Okay, talking about the teachers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Teachers get to
thank
meet
you.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Thank you.
They would like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So this
No,
program.
No, not this
these are the
program.
ones
This is
with
general
us.
fund.
It's different.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's different.
Have we ever gotten a price for going 5 days?
We have, Ms.
Do
Hurd
you
and I, we
remember
looked
what
at
it
that.
is, Ms. Hurd?
The 3 days is $450,000.
3 days. And if we,
Was about $150,000.
750,000 for 5 days.
Most of they throwing the trash can.
how much a day? We could buy a lot of Chick-fil-A.
You've been to Chick-fil-A.
Okay, we're down to number 7, superintendent report. A, play safe presentation. B, YMCA after-school program. And C, monthly financial reports.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. We are very fortunate tonight. We have Ms. Youngblood and Ms. Patel coming tonight, and they can go ahead and come forward. They are representatives of PlaySafe, and PlaySafe provides athletic trainers for our middle school and high school athletics while during our games and practices and things like that. But they've also been doing a national campaign on drug use and abuse, and so they're going to come tonight with a short presentation for you to discuss that. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Youngblood.
Yes, thank you so much, and Madam Chair, Dr. Kelly, members of the board, for allowing us to be here tonight and for the invitation. You said I'd be short. Kyle gave me permission to talk for an hour. Yes, I told him I was going to say that. I'm just kidding. It'll be short. But yes, so I'm Allison Youngblood, and I'm representing PlaySafe. And for you guys that know, you partner with PlaySafe to provide services to your student athletes, and so they provide that service. A new program that we have implemented as of last year is called Play Smart, and so Play Smart, the purpose of Play Smart is to empower student athletes and parents by providing them with the knowledge and the dangers and risk associated with the opioid misuse and abuse that we've been dealing with nationwide. And so that is what the program is about. Let me see if I can move this. Yes, and I think it's very important to say that this program is funded by the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Fund, and those funds are from a national lawsuit that won from Big Pharma. So Johnson & Johnson, McKesson, et cetera, had to pay in this lawsuit so that the funds could come down to the state and then go to the localities, which then would align with different organizations such as PlaySafe in the vein of prevention, in the vein of recovery, in the vein of education. So as it relates to PlaySafe and the Play Smart program, we serve in the vein of prevention and education. And so that's what we're doing with the student athletes in District 5 and Anderson, Oconee, and as of last week, Pickens County as well. So we're happy to do that. One thing that we always like to do is just to lay the groundwork with the students, and I'd like to do this with you guys as well. What are opioids? And so opioids, as many of you already know, are a class of powerfully, highly addictive drugs that are prescribed to alleviate pain, and they do this by interacting with the brain's pain receptors. And so this includes both prescription painkillers such as oxycodone, methadone, fentanyl, morphine, but it also includes illegal drugs such as heroin. We like to show this to the students because we want them to know that just because something is prescribed by a physician doesn't necessarily make it safe. It still has to be managed, and we need people to understand that, because what happens is if you develop an addiction from a prescription, then guess what you do next? You seek it off the streets. And so in that regard, these are counterfeit drugs most of the time, and counterfeit drugs, 7 out of 10 of all counterfeit drugs have fentanyl in them, and half of those are laced with enough fentanyl that will kill you. And so that is where we are. That is the crisis that we're in. And so on our perspective, if we can get in front of it, we know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's where we are, and that's what we're doing. So why should we use opioids with caution? And I've talked about this already some, but there are 9.2 million prescriptions filled in South Carolina every year. 5 million of them, so over half of the prescriptions, are opioids. So with every person that goes in, half of them are getting opioids. 1 in 4 prescribed opioids end up struggling with an addiction. 4 in 5 heroin users started with prescription painkillers. So the idea that people are making bad moral decisions and just deciding to take drugs is not true. It happens because they were not educated on the misuse of opioids. 1 in 4 teens have misused or abused a prescription drug at least once. In 2023, and this is the latest data that we have, 2023, there were 2,157 overdose deaths in the state of South Carolina. 1,700 of those related to opioids. So very large percentage. Here's the good news. This is good news. 6.1% decrease from 2022. So what does this mean? That the prevention and education is working. That's the first time in 8 years that we have seen a decrease in the overdose as a whole and with opioids. And so we got to keep at it. We've got to keep the train rolling. So student athletes, that's who Play Safe mainly focuses on, student athletes and their parents. And the reason for that is because we know that student athletes have an increased risk of injury. Just because the nature of what they do, they have an increased risk of injury. And because of that, opioid prescription is very likely. In fact, 1 out of every 8 student athletes who graduate high school have been prescribed an opioid at some point. And we know that 1 of 4 of those develop an addiction. So it is a problem, and we need them to be educated on the dangers and the risk of opioids. So they had developed this addiction, and then what happens long term? You guys have seen what happens long term. It's a continued use and dependence, which affects our school systems, affects our community, burdens our healthcare systems, burden our taxpayers. All of the things. It's a trickle-down effect. So, Play Safe, here are some modalities that we use. We have equipped the licensed athletic trainers that you guys have employed in both Teohana and Westside to have the knowledge around this and the resources to provide to students who visit the training rooms. They also, by the way, have provided this curriculum as part of their degree. So they have it degreed, but we supplement it at the beginning of the year. We also partner with athletic directors and principals in the schools to provide assemblies that give them the full information, all of the data that they need to make better decisions as it relates to their health. Team meetings, coaches are doing team meetings. We've attended banquets. We've developed an online parent class to educate the parents, and of course we're attending community events too. So we're wanting, and we're in the schools, but we're also in the community doing this work. Here's our impact from last year. This is the first year that we implemented this. We were able to get in front of 3,827 student athletes last year. So within District 5, 321 of those student athletes, thanks to Jockey, my partner here, through the involvement with licensed athletic trainers and team meetings, we saw 321 students. Westside, we saw 500 students through their fall banquet. So that's student and parents with the Westside group. We would like to see 100% of students who are eligible to play sports this year in District 5 and all of Anderson County, all of Oconee County, all of Pickens County. Every single one of the ways that we deliver this, we provide a prevention playbook. You guys have been provided the prevention playbook. It is full of data. It is full of statistics. What we know is that youth do not care about our stories. They care about data. They care about statistics. They respond to the facts. And so that's what this playbook provides, and we'll continue to provide this to the students this year as we go into the new school year. Here's some information, and I'm wrapping this up. Mortality data for South Carolina. Again, the latest data is from 2023. Total drug overdoses, 2,157. Opioids, 1,704. Everything that you see in green is an improvement from 2022. So the numbers are looking better. And this is for Anderson County specifically. So again, overdoses as a whole are down, opioids as a whole are down. We are seeing an increase in cocaine and psychostimulants. I do want to emphasize the increase in deaths in psychostimulants, and here's why. So for those of you that know, psychostimulants are things such as Adderall, Ritalin. And here's what's happening. Students are wanting to stay up all night and study. So guess what they're doing? They're borrowing their friend's Adderall. What they don't know is the difference in a prescription and a counterfeit pill. So one pill can kill, and it does every day. So they pop the Adderall thinking they're going to stay up and study, and instead what happens is they fall asleep and they lose respiratory function. And so we're educating these students, and I can tell you this firsthand, and anybody who's been to our presentation, you can see the awakening in the students' eyes. Like, they're like, I did not know that. And I probably will think twice before. I'll drink a cup of coffee before I'll take an Adderall for my next study session. So it's making a difference, and we appreciate you guys allowing us the opportunity to present to the students. Here's how it benefits the school districts and the community. Number one, protects student athletes' health and safety. Number two is preventative misuse before it starts, reduces long-term health care and community cost, supports academic success and attendance, and overall builds a stronger, healthier community. Just one fake pill can kill, and I thank you guys for your attention. And if you have time for it, I'm open to questions if you have any.
Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome.
Is there any way you could send me this? I would like to use this in my driving. I got a class Saturday. Anything because I know Scott already came to the Touchdown Club this year, talked about Mr. Briss's grandson.
Yes.
And those that know him have just sad story, but they were stressing the fake pills and things like this. But if you could
Absolutely.
just send me a copy of that, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
So your organization and this effort is funded, you said, by recovery from lawsuits related to opioids, is that
That's
correct?
right. So the national lawsuit against Big Pharma that happened, and they paid out based on the market failure that happened. So
Right.
that money was then brought down by our Attorney General in South Carolina that then has a board that divvies it out to the localities, who then aligns with organizations that do the work.
And so we just have an agreement with them to come into the schools and offer this training? And are we funding this? Is the district?
We
Five.
pay for the athletic trainers.
Okay.
The sports medicine side of it, from the injury prevention and the training rooms, there's a partnership with PlaySafe and the district that fund those, the licensed athletic trainers.
Okay.
But we don't fund all of the athletics.
Not 100%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your passion.
Appreciate
Yes.
that. This one
You're welcome.
picture of the salt shaker was an eye-opener for me, so
Yes.
it's amazing.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
attention.
Allison.
And
Yes,
I'll
you're
add
welcome.
this about Play Safe. 2 years ago next month, I was sitting in the press box of West Side for a scrimmage between Crescent and Pendleton, and a little cheerleader from Crescent, and she was sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden she just fell over on the track. I thought it was just heat or whatever. Long story short, the Play Safe trainer was over there. The next thing I knew, she's doing chest compressions on this cheerleader. And I texted Kathy Hip, and they had to use paddles on her. Young lady went into cardiac arrest.
Okay.
Had it not been for that Play Safe trainer, we had to tell the football team to quit play. They didn't know what was going on. And the poor mom was standing down there. But the Play Safe trainer, I was just amazed. I'd have been
Yes.
standing there like an idiot, but she just jumped right in, didn't bat an eye.
Right.
And that child was live. Her name was last name was Sanchez. I went to see her at the program they had at the end of that year. Glad to give her a hug. So the Play Safe trainers are worth their weight in gold. They really are.
That's right.
Should we formalize the inclusion of this program into our curriculum?
We can talk with Ms. Youngblood about that.
Yes. We would love the opportunity to talk more. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you
Allison.
so much.
I did see pictures of a beautiful wedding.
2 off the payroll.
No, that never happened.
Say it's not so.
YMCA, that's the superintendent.
That's right.
That's
yes,
it.
ma'am. So, the YMCA after-school program, Mr. Dukes asked for me to just brief the board on the YMCA program that we offer after school and the rationale for that. There is state statute, section 59-1990, that requires all public schools to provide childcare before or after schools. And in the year 2007, Ms. Bagley partnered with the YMCA to meet the requirements of that law, and that agreement renews annually each year. So the reason the YMCA offers their program after school is to meet the requirements of section 59-1990. They meet every day, 2:30 to 6, and the law also even requires for the schools to provide childcare during when school's out of session. So the Y also offers availability during winter break, Christmas break, summer break, and so that partnership with the YMCA is based on that law.
Are we worried about funding for, is that a program that's at risk? I've heard a lot about after-school funding being at risk by federal funds being frozen.
That funding, we are having a conversation, Ms. Hurd and I, with Ms. Morgan about the Title I fundings, or actually the federal funding is more than Title I. It's been frozen right now. They're not cutting it so much as they're freezing it.
Okay.
And we're gonna be meeting later this week to describe that and give you more information about that, but that funding does not fund
Okay.
this piece.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. To add a little context to that, I'd ask simply because the YMCA is not charged for use of facilities because of that agreement.
That's
And
right.
I'd ask, because we have some other programs, after-school programs that are charged, and that's very normal. But some people have asked, why is it the Y charge or is the Y charge? So I appreciate that explanation.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question about the Good News Club. Good News Club being charged fees. It's a Bible club that meets in the elementary schools. And I have an email from the director, Kinley Prince, that says the Good News Club ministry covers Anderson, Greenville, Oconee, Pickens counties, but Anderson 5 is the only district that charges a facility use fee, which is $2,000 per school, so per year. So I just wanted to ask, why is Anderson District 5 charging when all the other counties are not?
Our district has a board policy that talks about rental facilities and the charges on that. I don't know if the other districts have a board policy on that. So the reason Anderson 5 charges is because it's board policy. So if that is something that the board would want to review and look at, that is certainly up to the board. But the reason as of right now is policy KF, community use of school facilities. So that is why we charge. I'm not sure about the
And
other
we have that
districts.
policy because we were sued and took a case all the way to the Supreme Court to
Right.
have it decided.
Right.
Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah.
Right, but is it necessary that we charge $2,000 to the Bible Club?
It's
For the-
based on the application, and the application is based on the services of the custodians that would be needing, because when the Good News Club meets, and we have Good News Club at every, I think every
Elementary,
school,
yeah.
every elementary school. They meet one day a week, but they meet from 2:30 to 4. And so anything that happens between 2:30 and 4 would pull the custodian off of their regular needs and responsibilities. For example, if a student gets sick, if they were to vomit, then that has to be cleaned up by a professional, because then if not, then that germ is contagious to all. So they have to stop what they're doing. So the cost is based on when they have to stop what they're doing to help, they have to work over, because they do have to finish to ensure that it's cleanly, and cleanliness for the other kids the next day. So that is based on the cost. But it's all in a contract. It is all consistent with anyone who would like to rent a facility.
Right.
One of the reasons that this policy was implemented, as Rick alluded to earlier, is that we were sued by a religious group that was not what we would consider mainstream or normal. So this was kind of implemented as a deterrent for those type groups, witches, Satan, those type people. They sued us and they won, and we have to have something to deter certain groups from wanting to use our facilities. And well, you let them use it, why can't we use it? Well, they pay a fee. Are you willing to pay that fee? Then you have the opportunity to also apply and use. Just like with the What Would Jesus Do bracelets, we had to stop doing all that, wearing the T-shirts, the whole 9 yards, because of the fact that we were sued in that case.
Right. I feel like the fee is exorbitant, though. Maybe even cutting the fee in half.
There's a lot of guidance that went into that policy, guidance from all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States behind that policy. So, you know, I'm hesitant to even touch it. You know, it's just, it was well-researched before it was put into play.
This has been brought up several times in my tenure, and it's the same answer. I mean, and if you go back and look at the policy and read it, I know it doesn't seem fair. I mean, our church pays to have the Good News Club in the schools, and, you know, they've asked me, hey, can we not discount it? I was on the board with CEF at one point in time, and I talked to Tom Wilson about it, and basically it's just not feasible to eliminate the fee or reduce it. I mean, there's a lot that goes in to taking care of the school and the facility, and I mean, it's whatever the board pleases, but I'm like Rick. I mean, you hate to start messing with something that the Supreme Court has put into place.
But they didn't put the fee, though.
They didn't put the fee, but
There's a formula behind the fee, as Dr. Kelly alluded to. It has to do with the necessary time that is used by our employees, the custodian, the security, and those who have to be administrators that have to be there. We have to pay them. That money has to come from somewhere. Based on the guidance that was given to us by the Supreme Court and others involved, this policy was drafted, and the fee was also drafted and included with the formula set up to offset those fees and offset the pay for those individuals that are necessary to be present at the time of the Good News Club.
Right, but it's just that Greenville, Oconee, Pickens, they charge $0.
Okay, Greenville is consolidated, so they may have another type of funding or another pool which they can get, draw those funds, but I know about ASD5.
Can we look at that from another angle? I know that in the upcoming school year, as we've done in many, many years, our employees will be asked to contribute to nonprofits like the United Way and others. And since I'm assuming that the Good News Club is a nonprofit, if that could be added to a list of options for our employees to give to help offset some of that cost.
Yeah. Mr. Galloway and I are reviewing that policy. I'll list that on there as a review.
Okay, thank you.
That would
it's
have
a
to come
great
before the
program.
board.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
it's
a great
terrific.
program.
It is a good program, very good.
Our curriculum is good, but that's eternal.
That's
So
right.
that's
Damn, real
it's excellent.
Right, and out of the 5 districts in Anderson, we're the only ones that charge us. But
We're the only ones that got sued too.
Yeah, okay, that's what yeah, they got sued. Monthly financial reports.
Yes, ma'am. If Ms. Hurd, if you'll come forward, she will brief you and give you some information concerning our monthly financials.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Kelly, Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. It's kind of nice not to have budget on the agenda for a little while, isn't it? We've got several months before we start back that process, but you know that we will be talking financial statements and finances every single month. So we'll start with our sales tax as of the end of June, our June collection, which you know is 2 months behind. So it is the month of April that we received in June. You can see that on your screens highlighted in yellow. It was $1.315 million. That is $74,000 less than the same time last month. That's highlighted above in green. But if you look at the April of 2025, or what we received in June for April, and compare that to the same time last year, that is the pink highlight up above there, and our collections in 25 were $93,017 more than the previous year. And then again, if you just kind of look at the year-to-date that we've collected so far, although we are less than a few months ahead of us, we are still very high collections in $1.3 million for the month. So the sales tax is still coming in very strongly. Any questions on sales tax?
Have we, have we implemented a steering committee that looks at us getting this reapproved by the voters? Have we already started putting it together?
Dr. Kelly, would you
Yes, sir,
like to?
we have.
Very
I've
good.
met with the other superintendents. We're working with each of them because each of them have different capital needs.
Right.
And so we have been in discussion. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and as we are looking at our revenues, as I think we have discussed before, the June 30th financial statements will not be complete until probably the end of August. Well, I know it actually will be into September because we have to record back revenue through August 30th that we get on property taxes into the previous year. So these numbers will change before they are audited. So I didn't do the traditional take June 30th of this year and compare it to June 30th of last year, because last year's June 30th numbers are audited numbers and these are still moving. So from what was in your packet, we didn't have any of the July payrolls in there yet. Now we have done our July 15th payroll. So again, these numbers are changing. But I did want to share with you this information because there are, we are a good ways through looking at some of the things. And so I wanted to share with you some comments and some looking at the financial statement. So if the first thing that we're looking at that's on your screen is our revenue, and I ran this afternoon right before I left the office at 4:22. So this is as up to date as it gets. And what I would like for you to see is the items highlighted in yellow. You see the negative number means that we have collected more than we budgeted. The two items in yellow we adjusted during our budget for the 25-26 year. So when you see the July financial statements next month, those two items in yellow we addressed during the budget process. The item highlighted in pink is interest income, and you can see that we're $4.8 million over budget in that line item. We talk about that line item every month. Prior to interest rates going out the roof, we were at like $60,000, we went up to $100,000, and now our budget's at $175,000. That is not a budget that we have adjusted, that I brought to you to adjust, because this time last year we were hearing that the interest rates were going to be cut by the bankers and the national economists. And if we go change this budget to $3 or $4 million in revenue, that's very hard to cut positions and people when 86 to 87% of your budget is in personnel. So that's why I try to be very open with you that this line item right now is always being blown out of the water, but that is the account that we are able to use when we are doing teacher or student incentives, where we've been bringing in some teachers for testing, bringing in right before testing when teachers were staying after and helping with students. So I just wanted you to see that as well. The items that have the little triangle there, so it'll be those four, those are kind of unusual situations. So refund of a prior year. We probably had purchased something, maybe it didn't come in, might have been, I did not look, I apologize, I did not look and see what this $85,000 was, but we received a refund check after July 1, but it went back to a previous year. So we had to record that this year. The insurance proceeds, obviously we had an issue there and we received some money. So the offsetting expense is in the expenditure account since that was a property proceeds. In the past, we've always put the proceeds against the expense, so we would charge the expense on the expense side and put the check back against it, but the auditors didn't like that. They liked for us to show the revenue and show the expense. Just kind of looks funny for, for you guys in the public because they don't know where to see the offsetting expenditure. The other miscellaneous revenue there, the $94,000, that is the funding that we received, as Ms. Youngblood was talking about, but ours was from the vaping lawsuit that we received funds for. That's a one-time thing from this particular company. It was called Altrua, I believe, Ultra, something. We had also gotten one from Jewel the previous year, but I don't think that we're expecting any more right now. I know we kind of put together like.
Phases out, it's a small amount.
Okay, so we may get a little more on that, but that's something that was unexpected. If you look at the trip reimbursement here, that is trips that our transportation department does for our schools and bills them for that. And they pay, that would be field trips, athletic trips, different things along those natures. So you can see that we collected more than we spent. But again, if you look in the transportation department, if you look, we've overspent the account there. So that is just the additional revenue, but additional expenses. If you look down to homestead exemption there, that's got the little box by it, it's $155,000 more. I'm doing some research on that. I have been here for almost 19 years now, and that number has never ever changed from the $1.78 million. That comes from the state, and it's been frozen at the state level since 2006. And so I don't know where that extra $155,000 came from. I was not expecting that, so I'm doing some research there. I don't know if some additional money went into the property tax line of the homestead relief at the state level. So we'll try to figure that out, because if that's going to be reoccurring, then we would need to discuss it next year during the budget process to add to the budget. And then the green down here, that's our indirect costs from some grants. And actually, I pulled ESSER to see how much indirect costs we received from ESSER, and it was $518,000. So without ESSER, we would have been a little short in that account. So that really will take care of itself next year when we don't have the ESSER. And then this was just a little bit of money where we sold some items through a surplus sale. I did want you to see right now, we're at $11 million over budget in revenue. So that's where we stand right now.
So split 9 ways.
Yeah, everybody can get a lot of money. So we have addressed some of these, some we have not. Some of these we're probably not going to be reoccurring. These two right here, we probably need to address: manufacturer's depreciation and other state property revenue. I do know that we were waiting on the state to talk about manufacturer's depreciation. If they did not add more money into that account, that money was going to get cut. So we were going through a lot of the budget process thinking that this number may have been cut. Now, for us, cut probably would have been we'd have met budget. But it did not. They added more money into the state budget, so that's how that came about. So that's one we're probably going to need to look at next year. Let me show you.
Can you clarify why excess revenue is represented as a negative in those figures? Like it's got a negative value.
Yeah, it's just that's an accounting thing.
Just rectifying.
It's just that if you exceed it, it's negative. Now, on the expenditure side, if you exceed it, it's negative, and that's a bad thing. On the revenue side, if you exceed it, it's negative, and it's a good thing. It's truly just an accounting function.
Okay.
Not a good answer, but it's an honest one. Then just, again, as we talked about, the expenditure side is still changing a lot more rapidly than the revenue side of things. So, I just kind of looked at some district level accounts and looked at where we had not spent all of our money. So software, we had about $626,000 left at the end of June 30th. Sub-cost, we had $562,000 left. Paid parental leave, we had some money left. A mental health contract, There was some money left. That was due, sometimes we're at the mercy of the state on that contract. If they can't find employees to hire at the state level to come into our schools, we sign the contract expecting them to all be filled. And if somebody goes out on leave or somebody quits in the middle of the year, we're at the mercy of the state to find that. And then some of our other departments had some funding left at the end of the year. Instruction here, I have no worries with Ms. Elrod now taking over the department, that we will be ensuring that the classroom gets all the needs, all the instructional needs and materials that they need and the district level to support instruction. So, and then professional development, I know Dr. Kelly and the team have been working on some professional development. Legal and audit and board expenditures, we were a little under. Some of those are good things when your legal bills are less than you budget. And then just to be, so you are aware, software, we have about $750,000 to $800,000 budgeted annually. And last year, we pulled all of that out and moved it over to ESSER that ended September 30th. So that is why that software number looks like that. When you see July, you're gonna see that that money is pretty much already spent in the current budget that we're in right now, because most of our software renews July 1. Not all of it, but a lot of it renews. So most of that is already gone in the new year that we're in. We just took advantage of the ESSER funding for one more year to cover all of our software. And I do know that we have a team of staff members, again, Ms. Elrod in her new role, Ms. Morgan, Dr. Kelly, some of the instructional team. They really are looking at software as we go forward to ensure that we are not putting too much out there or too much on the teacher's plate, and what we have is being used well, and making sure that we have the criteria to know that it's getting that we're making a difference with the students in the software. So I just did want you to know that we do have a team that checks that periodically. Our sub cost, again, a little bit of that is that we pushed some of that through ESSER last year, so that some of this will be spent in future years. Additionally, when the board was doing the budget for the 24-25 school year, we changed personal leave days from 3 to 5, and we did not know how that would translate to sub-cost into the budget. So the board approved additional funds into the sub-budget, since teachers would have the opportunity to be out of the classroom more. I have not dug into the data to see if our teachers were out more days. Was it that schools split the classes? I don't know. I'm not trying to say that schools split classes. I don't know. I haven't looked at the data. Maybe the teachers didn't take the personal days. Now that we do it in 15-minute increments, they may could have had somebody to cover for 30 minutes, where in the past it would have taken a sub in a whole day. So I just wanted you to know these were some of the highlights that I saw quickly. Again, this is almost $2 million. Just looking at this, that for last year we didn't spend. Paid parental leave, that was last year the first full year, Ms. Elrod, or second? So, we took a stab in the dark at what we thought, and that will always be a stab, knowing who's pregnant, who's adopting. We just kind of have a number out there for that. But I feel good that everything really, again, sub-cost could potentially have maybe a little bit too much budgeted, but the other items I feel good that we will spend during this current fiscal year with our direction from Dr. Kelly on instruction and Ms. Elrod running the instructional budget.
And maybe, I guess, to clarify for some of our new board members, that the ESSER money, the reason we did that, if we didn't spend that money by September, we had to send it back.
It's gone. Yeah, we
So-
just we couldn't claim it and get it back.
Yeah.
So we lost it, and that is one thing I don't like to do in my department. We'll do everything we can not to send money back to the state that we could have used in Anderson 5 legally by the regulations of the grant.
And these expenditure savings are for fiscal year 24-25.
Yes, sir.
So on the agenda, it's like, we're talking about monthly financial reports, and now we've reverted to an annual. We're talking about the entire fiscal year 24-25.
This is the
These
June 30th highlights as of right now. I
Okay.
just wanted you to know this is what I saw as
Okay.
of right now. It may change. Some of these numbers may be less than this when I rerun, when we get ready for audit. I just wanted you to know these were, as I was looking at the monthly financial statements that you guys have, I go through every line item and look at them and try to analyze what happened, what you might want to know. And, you know, in the past, I've been trying to compare month to month so y'all kind of see, and I just felt like that was not a good comparison for this month. I could have shown it to you, but it would have been completely out of whack because one's completely closed out books and one is not. So I was trying to just go through the June 30 financial statements to show you the highlights.
One more question. So these savings, like for example, the subs cost, you said we were funding some of this with ESSER, and so that's why we have those savings. And you said that this money will be used in the future for that same reason.
Yes, sir.
Right now, these savings, they revert to the general fund?
Fund balance, yes, sir.
So are you put some sort of note in there saying these funds are, even though they're in the general fund, they're held for this reason?
No, sir. Not yet for what you're getting at. If we do anything along those lines, so at June 30th, anything that's left in any account in a 100 fund rolls into fund balance. The board has the ability to reserve accounts for future purposes.
Okay.
And so, but if we do that, it has to be by a motion and board minutes, and our auditors check that to make sure, because it has different designations in the financial statements, that the big audit that they do, it shows up in different places. It's either gonna roll into your fund balance, you can reserve it into the capital project, you can reserve it for other things, but it has to be a motion by the board, approved by the board, and in the board minutes if you wanna do something along those lines. But yes, the board does have that ability to designate something for a particular purpose. What I do is keep all these notes, so now I already have a folder on my desk that says 26-27 budget. So I make these notes and all of my handwritten notes beside it, and then when we start the budget process, Dr. Kelly and I get together and I say, okay, here's where we ended 24-25. The budget had already been approved. Let's look at where we are now. Oh, okay, well, this came up and we've already spent all that money. We mark that off. If not, we look and we see the sub-budget we're not spending it fully, and we may have some money there, we would bring it to y'all and say, okay, we've been tracking this for a couple years now, and we think we can take $200,000 out of the sub-budget. And that would be a savings, that we would show that as a savings to you guys when we're preparing the budget for 26-27.
Can I ask a point?
Sure.
So with the sub-budget, we changed those days that a teacher could take, what was it, 3 personal days to 5 personal days. And everything was gonna go bad. And it looks like that our teachers didn't abuse that privilege.
Yes, so you're right. I think where we've done our research and things don't go well is when you open up all of your sick leave to personal leave. That's where districts are saying that they're seeing instructional issues because teachers take all of their sick days as personal days. We limit it at 5. So they get 12 sick days, the other 7 they would need to truly be sick to use them. But when we looked at just opening up all sick leave to being personal days, that's when we talked to a lot of other districts and talked to them instructionally and cost. How did that impact them? And if I'm incorrect, please let me know. But I know at least one of our neighboring districts talked about the negative impacts that they saw and that they have in their district by allowing all of their allowing all the days, you can just take them for whatever reason.
But as soon as they're gone, they're gone. So if you get sick after you've taken that week to Disney World, you could be docked.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So, they haven't abused the privilege yet. I would be inclined to up it a little more, maybe 2 more days, just to see. It's not something we couldn't, try it on a trial basis for another year. We up 2, let's up 2 more and see what happens. We may have to pull it back, but I'm for giving teachers credit. They're intelligent people that know, hey, if I use up all my days now and I get sick or my child gets sick or whatever it may be, I'm gonna get docked. I don't think people are gonna just go crazy, and use up all their days. And I know, it's a big risk to take to go to 12. But if we keep bumping it up, maybe 2 days a year, seems like a great experiment to see what our teachers will do.
I believe that's board policy.
It is board policy, and to talk with what you're saying, Mr. Bradshaw, I agree with you. I trust our teachers 100%. We
Yeah.
have the best teachers in the state, I mean that. And I mean that, when we have the best teachers in the state, and when they're not in the classroom, our kids suffer. So when we up their days, they deserve them. I'm not saying they don't deserve them. They're very honest. I have a teacher I know personally, she needed 3 days to attend a wedding, a family wedding, and then she wanted to go do something. She took 2 days without pay. She was honest. She could have lied. She could have said, I'm sick. I'm turning in sick. We have the best teachers. But those 5 days, that teacher was out of her class. She spent extra hours making sure that the plans were right, that the differentiated lessons were there. So it's not that I don't trust our teachers. I trust our teachers 100%. We are blessed in Anderson 5.
We are.
It is the children missing that core instruction, because our teachers are so good. Giving that many days without a dynamic teacher in front of them, that's the only piece.
Right. But you can see, as last year, we had a whole year to test it.
Oh yeah, financially, I think we pulled the data. Yeah, and it was pretty much the same.
They didn't
Yes.
take any more.
Well, I don't know that they didn't take the days. I just don't know that we had subs, or
That's-
how much ESSER covered the subs for us not to see it here.
What, do we have a report on what our fill rate was by, what's the company that does that?
Yes.
This buffer just said for that meeting to be last year.
What was our percentage?
Our fill rate was 85%.
Okay, so we're not filling every 15%, we're falling short, so that's some savings there. My suggestion would be, hold on, if you make a note in your folder, in your little tickler file, $500,000 in sub costs, because I'd love to see us raise the pay for subs to encourage the subs, to
And-
encourage
and
more
That
subs.
2 years
We did do
ago.
that, no, we did
Yeah.
that last year as well.
Okay.
Right.
So we
I know.
did more personal days, increased the sub pay,
Right.
and still are at 85%. And in addition to that, we had a few schools that had permanent subs all year long.
Yes, we
And I'd like to hear about that at some point.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Did that work
They
well?
just showed up there every single day.
Yeah.
Because we knew we would always, in that school had an ace in their pocket.
Yes.
So to speak. And so they could pull from that when a child got sick on the way to school and mama had to take them back home.
Yeah.
You know, a teacher had a child that got sick or something like that.
Westside High School has that, and this year their EOC scores went up. We had a lot of increase in completers, K completers, so yes, it did help.
And I'm
Miss
sorry.
Ms. Hurd, didn't someone sitting here talking to you mention that several years ago to put permanent subs in every school?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And we do look at it. We've talked about it, and we do look at it.
She fussed at me about it.
I'm the finance
Kind of way of
person.
doing that.
Yeah. I just want to prove she was wrong.
That's when we didn't have this. That's when the savings weren't there. We didn't have the funds for it. But no,
Yeah.
we do want, and when you do have a permanent sub as well, the principals vet those people that are permanent subs. So they know who they are. It's not a random placement. And Ms. Elrod and Ms. Bufford can tell you that we have subs that we have to ban from coming back. There are some that we don't want.
Now, those
that-
permanent subs, they are still through that.
They are still through ESS.
ESS, yeah, okay.
Yes, so we do those. In addition to that, Ms. Buffer and I are working on another little caveat that may help put some potential new teachers that are still in school that are doing some into our schools as subs. So I think we really are trying to make sure we get the best instructional person in front of the kids while trying to be fair to the teachers, because we know they need days off and they have reasons why they need to be out. It's just a balance between ensuring instruction is at its top level as much as it can be, keeping it financially sound for the taxpayers, being on the cutting edge, having good people. It's just this balance that we try to weigh at all times. And to your point, sometimes we try it on a basis of a few schools, and when it goes well, we expand it. And but the permanent sub we've actually talked about, and again, Ms. Buffer and I are working on some other things right now.
We spent a lot on interventionists, and I know, I was a principal, if you've got an empty classroom, you're either splitting classes, bad, or either you're pulling an interventionist and they're not intervening with kids, they're in a classroom. So for us to have
better subs, more subs, well-paid subs. That's what I've been in favor for.
And we're hopeful that if we can get the pay rate up for certified, that some of our retired teachers may
Yes.
come back and want to sub. Maybe they don't want a full-time
Yes.
commitment, but hey, I retired from McLeese and I will be glad to go. Ms. Mills, I'll come 2 days a week, or I'll give you 1 day a week, or just call me. I think if we can get the pay where it would be good, then we may can get some retired teachers back as
So,
well.
Mr. Bradshaw, going back to your recommendation,
days.
I will pull that policy, and then I'll make some revisions on it and bring it forth, and then we can discuss it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and I think that's all I have, so, unless you guys have any questions.
No, I didn't have any questions. I just had some people to call me that does in-school suspension, that a lot of times they'll close that and they'll have to go sub, and they have done that 3 to 4 times during that week. So I would ask that we don't use our ISS people to go sub because you didn't have anybody to sub today.
Yes, ma'am. That's something else that I know Ms. Elrod and Dr. Kelly tell people, and from the finance person that oversees federal funds, when we have federal people that are pulled out of their jobs and have to go down to a sub, that we don't like that either. So we try to ensure, that's why the budget is there, so the principals can go get subs and we're not pulling people from their job. But we'll make sure that we let them know that ISS needs to be used for ISS.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now I need to get a motion to go into our executive session for A, Section 34-7A1, discussion of employment and appointments, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, and release of any employees regulated by the public body. A, 2025-26 personnel recommendations. B, returning employee bonus package. And capital B, Section 347A2, discussion of proposed purchase or sale of property.
Madam Chair, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to go into executive session for these items that you've listed out.
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Can we get a vote that we go into executive session?